The routine patrol. Captain Vex Cortheny stretched his 4 arms across the command console of the Zephyrian patrol vessel Stellar Wind, his silver scales catching the dim blue light of the navigation display. The bridge hummed with the quiet efficiency of a routine deep space patrol, just another standard sweep through what the Galactic Council now classified as Sector 471 Dead Zone. Once, this region had belonged to the humans, but that was before the Great Silence began 3 years ago. Status report, Lieutenant Mellock, Vex commanded, his voice carrying the casual authority of someone who had conducted this same patrol dozens of times before. Lieutenant Raya Mellock, a sleek female Zephyrian with golden-tinted scales, glanced up from her navigation station. All systems nominal, Captain. We're maintaining standard sweep pattern through Grid 7. No active signals detected, no ship movements, no energy signatures above background radiation levels. Vex nodded, settling back into his command chair. The humans had simply vanished from galactic affairs 3 years ago. Their ambassadors stopped attending council meetings, their trade ships disappeared from hyperspace lanes, and their colonies went dark one by one. Most species assumed they had finally destroyed themselves in one of their legendary wars, or perhaps retreated so far into their own space that they might as well have ceased to exist. Ensign Torin. Vex called to the young sensor operator stationed at the forward console. Anything unusual on long-range scanners? Ensign Jex Torin, barely out of the Zephyrian Naval Academy, shook his head eagerly. Nothing, sir. Same readings we've been getting for months. Dead space, cold asteroids, and the occasional debris field from old human mining operations. The bridge fell quiet again, filled only with the soft whisper of recycled air and the distant hum of the fusion engines. Vex allowed his mind to wander, thinking about his family back on Zephyr Prime, about the promotion he was hoping for, about anything other than another boring patrol through empty space. That's when everything changed. Captain, Torin's voice suddenly cracked with tension. I'm picking up something strange. Vex's attention snapped back to the present. Define strange, Ensign. It's like a shadow, sir. Something big, maybe 3,000 meters out, but it's not showing up properly on sensors. The readings keep shifting, like it's there and not there at the same time. Lieutenant Mellock frowned at her own displays. I'm not seeing anything on navigation sensors, Ensign. Are you sure your equipment is calibrated correctly? Before Torin could respond, every light on the bridge flickered. The main display screen wavered, showing static for just a moment before returning to normal. Then the artificial gravity fluctuated, causing everyone to grip their stations instinctively. What in the 7 stars was that? Vex demanded, standing from his chair. Unknown, Captain, Mellock replied, her fingers flying over her console. All systems are showing green, but we definitely experience some kind of interference. Torin's young voice rose with excitement and fear. Captain, that shadow I detected, it's moving. It's getting closer. Vex moved to stand behind the sensor station, looking over Torin's shoulder at the displays. What he saw made his blood run cold. There was indeed something there, something massive, but it seemed to exist at the very edge of sensor capability, like looking at a shape through deep water. Full sensor sweep, Vex ordered. Maximum power to the sensor array. As the Stellar Wind's powerful scanners reached out into the darkness, something extraordinary happened. The shadows stopped hiding. By the ancient kings, Mellock whispered, staring at her navigation display in shock. Before them, emerging from what had appeared to be empty space, was a ship unlike anything in the known galaxy. It was enormous, easily dwarfing their patrol vessel, with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, pulsing with a soft blue energy that reminded Vex uncomfortably of a predator's eyes in the darkness. Captain, Torin stammered, I'm reading impossible energy signatures from that vessel. The power levels are off our scale. Vex felt his throat tighten. Classification. Unknown, sir. The configuration doesn't match any known species in our databases. But Torin paused, his scales paling. Sir, there are markings on the hull. They look like human script. The bridge fell silent except for the increasingly urgent beeping of various alert systems. Vex stared at the massive vessel on the main screen, his mind racing. Humans were supposed to be gone, finished, irrelevant. This ship represented technology far beyond anything the humans had ever demonstrated during their years in galactic society. Attempt communication, Vex ordered, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. Melloc worked at her console for several moments before shaking her head. No response on any standard frequencies, Captain. But, sir, I'm detecting active scanning from their vessel. They're examining us very thoroughly. As if summoned by her words, the bridge lighting suddenly dimmed, and every screen flickered to life with the same message, displayed in perfect Zephyrian script. Zephyrian vessel, you are in restricted space. State your business or prepare to be escorted away. Vex felt his 4 hearts hammering in his chest. Respond that we are conducting a routine patrol under Galactic Council authority. The response came immediately, appearing on every screen simultaneously. There is no Galactic Council authority in human space. You will follow our designated course to the edge of this sector, or you will be removed. Human space, Vex said aloud. But this sector has been declared dead for 3 years. The screens flickered again, and this time a new message appeared. Death is often a useful disguise. You have 60 seconds to comply. Before Vex could respond, Torin gasped from his station. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups throughout that ship. Whatever weapons they have, they're powering up. Vex made a decision that probably saved his crew's lives. Set course for the sector boundary, maximum sublight speed. As the stellar wind turned away from the mysterious human vessel, Melloc reported what they were all thinking. Captain, if the humans have been hiding ships like that, if they've been watching us patrol their dead space for 3 years, then they've been letting us think we were safe, Vex finished grimly. They've been studying us while we thought they were gone. As they reached the edge of the sector, Torin looked up from his sensors with wonder and fear in his young eyes. Captain, I'm detecting at least 12 more vessels of similar configuration throughout this sector. They've been here the whole time, just watching. The implications hit Vex like a physical blow. The humans hadn't vanished in defeat or retreat. They had deliberately gone silent, allowing the galaxy to think them gone while they developed technology far beyond anything previously imagined. For 3 years, while the Galactic Council debated what to do with former human territories, the humans had been here, hidden, watching, and preparing. Get me a priority channel to Zephyrian High Command, Vex ordered, his voice tight with urgency, and patch me through to the Galactic Council emergency frequency. As the stellar wind raced away from human space, Vex couldn't shake the feeling that everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity was about to change. The humans weren't gone. They weren't defeated. They were stronger than ever, and they had been watching the galaxy's every move. The question now was what they planned to do with all that patience and power. The Awakening. 3 days after the encounter with the Zephyrian patrol, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of the massive human vessel Prometheus Dawn, watching as dozens of similar ships emerged from their hiding places throughout the former human sectors. For 3 years, humanity had played dead, allowing the galaxy to believe they had retreated into insignificance while secretly developing technology that would have seemed impossible just a few years earlier. Status report from all stations, Sarah commanded, her voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who had spent those 3 years preparing for this moment. Captain Marcus Rodriguez, her second in command, consulted his holographic display. All stealth systems are powering down across the fleet, Admiral. 67 vessels are now fully operational and visible. The Zephyrian patrol ship successfully delivered our message to their high command, and we're detecting significant communication traffic throughout Galactic Council space. Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display that showed human ships emerging like ghosts throughout what the galaxy had considered empty space. Each vessel represented years of research, development, and manufacturing, carried out in complete secrecy while the rest of the galaxy assumed humanity was either dead or irrelevant. Any word from Dr. Vasquez on the quantum communication array? Sarah asked. Coming online now, Admiral, Rodriguez replied, just as the main communications console lit up with priority signals from across human space. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the brilliant physicist who had helped develop humanity's new technologies, appeared on the main screen from her research station aboard the New Horizons. Admiral, the quantum entanglement network is fully operational. We now have instantaneous communication with every human colony, research station, and fleet position throughout our space. The galaxy is about to discover that human space never shrank. It just learned how to hide. Sarah smiled grimly. The decision to go silent 3 years ago had been the most difficult choice in human history. While other species had assumed humanity was retreating in defeat after several costly conflicts, the truth was far different. Humanity had realized that the galaxy saw them as young, aggressive, and ultimately limited by their conventional technology. So they had made a choice: disappear entirely while they developed capabilities that would ensure they could never be dismissed again. Begin Phase 2, Sarah ordered. Open communication channels to all major Galactic Council species. It's time to reintroduce humanity to the galaxy. Across human space, communication arrays that had been silent for 3 years suddenly blazed to life, sending simultaneous messages to the homeworlds of every major galactic civilization. The message was simple, broadcast in every known language. Humanity wishes to resume diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. Please send representatives to coordinates 247.8 by 156.2 by 88.9 for immediate negotiations. The coordinates led to what the galaxy had known as the barren Lambda Centauri system, a region they assumed contained nothing but dead planets and asteroid fields. What the arriving diplomatic ships discovered 3 days later changed everything. The Lambda Centauri system had been transformed into the largest artificial habitat in known galactic history. Massive ring structures surrounded the central star, harvesting its energy on a scale that made previous human achievements look primitive. Space stations the size of moons orbited in perfect formation, connected by streams of light that carried both matter and information at unprecedented speeds. Captain Vex Corthani, now serving as the Zephyrian representative, stared in amazement at the displays aboard his diplomatic vessel as they approached the primary station. "How long has this been here?" he asked his aide, though he already suspected the answer. "Analysis suggests construction began approximately 3 years ago, sir," the aide replied. "This entire system has been rebuilt while we thought human space was empty." The diplomatic shuttle bay that received them was larger than most space stations, filled with vessels from dozens of species who had all received the same mysterious invitation. As Vex disembarked, he found himself face to face with Admiral Sarah Chen, who wore the simple blue uniform of the human colonial navy, a force the galaxy had assumed was disbanded. "Captain Corthani," Sarah said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Thank you for coming. I believe we have much to discuss." The negotiations took place in a conference hall that defied conventional physics, with artificial gravity that could be adjusted for the comfort of any species and translation technology that conveyed not just words but emotional context and cultural nuance. Vex found himself impressed despite his fear. This was far beyond anything humanity had demonstrated during their previous diplomatic interactions. "The question everyone wants answered," said Ambassador Tikela of the Hegemony Coalition, her insectoid features betraying uncertainty, "is why humanity chose to disappear rather than continue diplomatic relations." Sarah stood at the head of the massive conference table, looking at representatives from 47 different civilizations, "because we realized that the galaxy saw us as children with dangerous toys. Every diplomatic interaction was colored by the assumption that humans were too young, too aggressive, and too limited to be true partners in galactic civilization. "So you decided to prove us wrong by hiding?" asked the crystalline representative, its voice chiming like wind through metal. "We decided to prove you wrong by growing up," Sarah replied calmly. "For 3 years, while you debated what to do with our territories, we've been watching, learning, and developing. We've solved faster-than-light communication. We've learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level, and we've built a civilization that spans not just planets but entire star systems." Vex leaned forward in his chair. "And now you want back into galactic politics?" Sarah's expression grew serious. "Now we want to save the galaxy from a threat you don't even know exists yet." The conference hall fell silent. Sarah activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy from a perspective none of them had ever seen, with human sensor networks that extended far beyond known space, monitoring regions the Galactic Council had never explored. 18 months ago, our deep space monitoring stations detected something approaching from intergalactic space, Sarah continued. "A fleet of vessels using technology we can barely comprehend, heading directly for the galactic core. They'll arrive in approximately 14 months. The display zoomed in on sensor readings that showed massive objects moving through the void between galaxies, their energy signatures unlike anything in the known databases of any species. Why should we trust human intelligence after 3 years of deception?" demanded the hegemony ambassador. Sarah smiled, and for the first time, Vex saw not human arrogance but human determination. "Because in 14 months, when those ships arrive, you're going to need every advantage you can get. And we spent 3 years making sure we could provide advantages you never imagined possible." Dr. Vasquez appeared via hologram from her research station. "Admiral, our deep space sensors are detecting increased activity from the approaching fleet. They appear to be accelerating." Sarah nodded grimly. 13 months, then." She turned back to the assembled diplomats. "Humanity offers full technological partnership, immediate defensive alliance, and complete transparency in exchange for full restoration to the Galactic Council with equal standing." Ambassador Tikala's antennae twitched nervously. "And if we refuse? Then in 13 months, you'll face the unknown alone," Sarah replied. "And we'll respect your decision while defending ourselves with everything we've built during our time away." Vex looked around the conference hall at representatives from species that had dismissed humanity as irrelevant just days before. Now they were faced with the reality that not only had humanity survived their absence from galactic affairs, they had emerged stronger, more capable, and possibly the galaxy's only hope against an unprecedented threat. "I believe," Vex said slowly, "that the Zephyrian Republic would be honored to welcome humanity back to the Galactic Council." One by one, the other representatives voiced their agreement. As the formal ceremonies concluded, Vex approached Admiral Chen privately. "The humans that left galactic society 3 years ago," he said, "they were younger, more impulsive. What changed?" Sarah looked out through the massive observation windows at the human fleet that surrounded the station. Vessels that represented technology beyond anything the galaxy had previously imagined. "We learned that sometimes the best way to show your strength is to first show your patience," she replied. "And we learned that the greatest victories come not from conquering others, but from making sure everyone survives to see tomorrow." As the diplomatic vessels departed Lambda Centauri, carrying news of humanity's return to every corner of the galaxy, Vex couldn't help but think that perhaps the humans had taught the galaxy its most important lesson yet, that true strength came not from power displayed, but from wisdom applied and patience rewarded. The galaxy was about to discover what humanity could accomplish when they had time to prepare.